pact once broken, forged anew. Warlocks Waffles, forged anew.
Did you want waffles?
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday.
2:20. I don't know why I said it like that.
Yeah.
I regret
Monday, 2:20.
I regret every first words. I always look at it and just go,
There's
Why'd you
there's
choose
no
that?
there's no good way to start anything. Nothing has
that is not accurate at all. There's plenty of good ways to start things.
fine. Let's roll it back. Let's take it from the top.
Oh God.
You go first.
Okay. Oh yeah, the first part's easy. There we go. It's like, hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going? Then you gotta follow that energy.
Okay. Do it again. Do it one more time.
Now the third one, I definitely don't care. It's like, what up?
Greetings, adventurers. You're a long way from the Citadel.
Welcome, everybody, to Warlocks and Waffles. This is a TTRPG morning show. We are bringing that real weird energy this morning. Last week, we were all set up and ready to talk about some nonsense stuff on Friday, and then it proceeded to be the biggest nightmare ever of trying to make the episode work. As I slept through my alarm. Couldn't get up on time, was like half an hour late to jumping on the call. And then once we jumped into the call, the show started, and then promptly every microphone in the world stopped working. And we sounded like robots, and it was horrible. And then we gave up.
That's more or less what happened.
Yeah. We did record a bonus episode that is available on Spotify.
Anchor, Spotify, and as soon as I get my act together, it'll be on Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. We're going to get back episodes up there, and so we'll have the first 3 of this season up there shortly, and then the other ones. So for people that can't have us open in a tab or join us live because the world doesn't exist before 9 or 10 for them, you'll be able to enjoy us at whatever time the morning is for you, in your car ride to or from work, while you're cleaning, instead of blasting that. I know everybody else doesn't blast Spanish music. You should, while you're cleaning, just blast Spanish music. It'll get you pumped. But yeah, you can blast us and just listen to the dulcet tones of Hunter and I saying, Hunter, give me an example of what somebody could be listening to, just a snippet out of context. I'm sweeping the floor of the kitchen, and what would be going on in the background? What could I be hearing?
And really, that's why every first level adventurer should have to slaughter a bunch of kobolds.
That's kitchen cleaning music right there, baby.
Yeah.
So
there you go. This is
right,
and this is why every adventurer should take at least 7 levels of bard. That's just a controversial opinion, but I hold to it. EO Gamer, who doesn't blast Spanish music? Everyone should listen to Spanish music. It's just uncontroversially some of the best music. Get yourself pumped. Yeah. hot takes this morning.
Yeah, and we're coming out with all the hot takes.
We're coming in with a weird energy. There's a weird
Yeah.
energy today.
You know what? I
it's
told
like-
people
it's
in that bonus
simultaneously-
episode. Yeah.
It's simultaneously high energy of like both of us are very awake, and
Mhm.
also these weird pauses
Yes.
where I'm like,
yeah.
I don't
Processing.
what's going on. You told somebody something in the thingamajig? Is that what you said?
In the what? No. I was saying in the bonus episode I said that we were going to be so prepared this morning that people aren't going to know what to do with themselves. We're going to have this doc locked and loaded. We've discussed so many things and stuff. We're ready.
We've done nothing. There's nothing. This is the least prepped episode as far as the sheet goes. I'm looking at the sheet right now. Most of it says fill in later.
For the audio listener, I'm in stunned silence right now. Not sure how to handle this level of betrayal. So
we
but
did
we're
want
sticking to
to
this
talk
doc.
about. We are sticking to the doc. We wanted to talk about NPCs. We wanted to talk about NPCs on Friday, and then we didn't get around to it because by the time we were failing and giving up, we had ran out of time. We didn't know that, Hunter. You could have fooled us. I believe in truth. I will not deceive you and lead you to believe that this is a well-rehearsed show. This is a show ran on caffeine and chaos, and currently I have no caffeine, so I have to double down on chaos. We want to talk about...
That's a good line, by the way.
It is a good line.
It's a good line.
Put it on a t-shirt. We wanted to talk about NPCs. I would like to just start by saying NPCs are important. NPCs, more like MVPs, am I right?
That's good too. Man, you're full of this is good. These are
I don't know why.
higher lines today.
I need to just start making t-shirts first thing in the morning. But I want to talk about NPCs. What do NPCs need? How do you make a good NPC? What are some of our favorite NPCs? NPCs being both good and bad and neutral and everything in between. I'm excited because I don't know about you. Actually, I do. I do know about you. But I also know about myself that I really like NPCs. And some of the things that I've brought to my games that I am most proud of have been NPCs that I have created. Let's just hit the ground running. What are some of your favorite NPCs that you've made?
My favorite NPCs are it's a lot. I have the ones that I know I do a good voice for. So I end up using them a lot, and they tend to be very interchangeable. My favorite one is the slick talking Benny Mastiff. He's my potions salesman. He was my first time playing an artificer in a friend's game, and I ended up using him because I made him like a used car salesman. So I use potions, which are discount knockoff potions. They heal for less and all that fun stuff, but they give you a random effect. So I'm like, who's gonna sell this other than like a real shady artificer? And that's who I have doing that. It's like, hey, I'm Benny Mastiff, and it's one of those things that I love when I can interject them, but I don't get an opportunity to as often.
Sure.
Whenever I want to interject the idea of a potion, it's usually somebody has them. I don't since it's a one shot, I can't always introduce him because I know people will spend too much time with him or think he's outwardly trying to.
That is always the like danger of a really good NPC. Is especially for a one shot, you can spend a lot of time talking to a nonsense thing.
Exactly. So I know that I can't use him as often as I would like, but I love him, and I think my second favorite NPC was a she was a tavern owner, and it led me to my favorite bit ever, and it was I improv'd somebody asked for the strongest drink that they had at this place. And she said that she just had something her grandfather made. It's called Devil's Piss. And for some reason, I accidentally default to like a slightly southern accent when I do voices sometimes. I don't understand, but it happens.
I think this is a universal concept, though, because I've talked to a lot of people about NPCs, and I feel like every GM has at least one just southern character.
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
that
very...
nice drawl to the
yes.
Like there's just that. There's something about that voice that is very comforting to somebody who is trying to do voices for characters.
Yes. And I know that when I did this character, what was best about it was she was undeterred by the request. And I only bring that up because every time they asked for it, I made it was a process to get it because it was so noxious that it was like a series of boxes being moved, like so scraping of boxes lifted, a trap door being lifted, a box being lifted out, and her heaving this big old chest onto a table and then pouring out this mug and then like inhaling to not breathe in the fumes of this stuff. And then I would just make them roll very incredibly high constitution check, and hallucinations would happen if they didn't do well. But she was just, they also thought like, I don't know why, they just figured it's like, she probably need, I think it was something where they thought she needed protection and she totally didn't. Like she was the one that was her own bouncer at the same time. And I love that subversion of expectations, because I didn't describe her as like a Nordic barbarian person, you know what I mean? It was pretty average, and she handily handles, and I was just like, yo, she's dope. And they constantly made her go get this chest, and she was like, all right, yeah, sure, 1 second. And just like this whole vault situation, because it was too dangerous to be left out. And I loved doing that whole bit around it. But what about you, Hunter? Who's been your favorite NPC that you've had in your games?
Oh man, I mean, I have a I have an NPC that also has a southern drawl that is just a fun character to do. I've always enjoyed them. But I think my favorite NPC is probably a villain that I made, because they didn't start as a villain. They started as a this sort of side character that was I set them up to be just like a one-off like quest bad guy, right? Like he was a this goblin-y guy that was like living in the sewers of the city and had like attracted a bunch of rats to him and was using the rats to steal things at night. It was like kind of this like Pied Piper type vibe to him. And so that's how he started. And then the players like went in and wrecked his day, but didn't finish him off.
Oh, yeah, that's mistake number one.
And kind of made a big deal about being like, oh, you're not worth finishing off. And so then they left, and they just went upon their merry way and did a bunch of different things, leaving behind this like very insane goblin man who just was like slowly going more and more insane. And so as they were doing all this other stuff, he became obsessed with them and was like watching everything that they're doing, and like he went out and got magic so that he could like scry on them, and it was like any bard who came through, he was getting word of their travels and stuff like that, and was just building up all of his skill sets to specifically be against their skill sets. So like against the things that he knew they wouldn't have available to them. Until the like end fight with him where he was like, oh, this thing that you are like, you have actively been seeking these things and shutting these things down and making sure that like nobody is able to like do these things. Like they were off after these like big ancient artifact things and like making sure no one could get to them. And he like started looking into it as well, and he used to be very intelligent, so he was like researching and all this stuff, and found one of them and like released it, because he was like, not only am I actively against you, I'm gonna start undoing things you've already done. And it was such a fun thing for me. And you've met Daniel. Daniel, who played Roddy in the Hooligans game. He has such an intense hatred for this character because when he was first introduced, his character was like the only character that was like, I really feel like we should follow up on this and like make sure that this is like wrapped up, and everybody else was like, we've got bigger fish to fry, and ran off into the sunset.
This isn't the person that bought us margaritas, right?
No, that's Bert Poole.
Okay.
Bert Poole.
Sorry. Not
Here's
to lead us on a tangent, but
here's
yeah,
the thing.
there's
Here's
a whole
the
other
thing,
situation
Junie.
there.
I have a long, complicated history of making NPCs that are just specifically designed to piss off Daniel, because it's really entertaining. No, this character's name was Mongrel. And he was this like deformed. He technically wasn't a goblin. He was technically a gnome. Who had been corrupted by these dark magics and was slowly becoming more and more monstrous, and was like living in the sewers with a bunch of rats and stuff like that. But my favorite thing about him was the voice I designed for him is like, it's creepy but recognizable, so the characters who interacted with him regularly, I could drop that voice anytime, and they would know what was going down. And I developed like this, almost like a pattern for the way he talked.
A cadence,
so,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if there are characters that I will have talking in a completely different voice, but sort of in the same cadence, and it still freaks Daniel out. Because he's like, is this, what do you, I don't like that. But Mongrel is this sort of like,
hello, I'm here to say I just wanted to look in on you and make sure that you were doing okay.
And it's sort of this like halfway between like Pennywise and Winnie the Pooh.
There's a little bit of like salad fingers in there. There's a little bit of salad fingers in there.
Yeah. So it was just this like, I wanted to find this like this character that would be not quite, when you meet him, he's almost like, oh, like he's not something, we should have pity on this character. When you meet him, and then he just slowly descended into madness, which was just a very fun storyline to play through on my end. That leads into something I know that a lot of, I don't know if it's a lot of DMs struggle with this or think about it. I am not good at self-reflection sometimes, and it wasn't until I don't know how long I'd been DMing that people would say things like, yeah, it's great with all the voices and like, you know, it's so and I was like, voices, because I didn't think in my head how dramatically I was changing my voice. It was something reflexive, and I didn't think of it as a skill at first, because I just assumed everybody else had done it. I didn't really think about it. I didn't have as much experience in the TTRPG world, and realized that some people just they might do a little lilt or something like that, but otherwise it's them. But me, I will change my voice. And for people that
sometimes can't or have can't change their voice as easily, or if players that it's like, oh, I don't want to do a voice. There's a lot of things you can do to give a character personality and flavor without needing to completely change your voice whatsoever. And it sometimes could be cadence, speaking with a rhythm. Maybe at the end of all their sentences they go up, and then whenever you talk as them, they always have this thing where it goes up, and then you can tell when that person's speaking.
I talk a lot with when I talk to GMs about like doing voices for your characters. I talk a lot about finding like a key phrase or something like that will get you into the voice that you're wanting to do. So if you're looking to do a voice, finding something that is like a key to unlocking that voice. That even if you have to do it at the beginning of every time you talk, to get you into that, it's easier to do. I love character voices. It's just always been something that has been important to the games that I play.
One little trick I found that helps me because I realized I do it reflexively, and then once I saw like a vocal coach or something like that say this, I was like, oh, that's simple. It's how you can change your tone by where you're like placing your voice, essentially. If it's up higher and nasally, you can feel the vibrations coming up here from your nose and that area. And then when you have a normal register, it's kind of the back of your throat, and then you bring it down to your chest and it brings it lower. So you can kind of like holding your hand in front of you, guide your voice like this and bring it down and bring it down. And something simple as gritting your teeth so as I can talk like this, but if I talk like this, it changes it again. Right. And it's just like, and it's like, oh, I have a slider. Like I could change it. So it can happen on the fly at that point. You could have different conversations as long as you remember and keep track of who has what voice. And I know people have like notes that they can, like if you have a pocket of how many voices you do going, like, you know, this is what this guy sounds like, and you can keep that there. I try to, when it is a character like an NPC that I don't want to spend too much time on, I just try to talk for them, narrate as what's happening, and don't put too much to them, so that way the characters know the difference between me just talking like a throwaway NPC and this person's voice is distinctive, like that. When they hear that person, they know it's them.
I have a default, like, this is my default guard voice, this is my default merchant voice, which is like these are NPCs. These are unnamed NPCs that, like, if you want to invest into getting to know them, you absolutely can. But they are there to provide you like a single piece of dialogue or something like that. And then you move on. And then that way my players know if there's ever like, if they're interacting with a guard and instead of talking like this, they approach the guard and they're like,
oh, hey, welcome to wherever you're at. It's good to have you.
Like if they walk up and it's not the default guard, they're like, oh, this is
there's an exclamation point above
there's
this
a
guy.
reason. There's a reason this person is different. I think there's a misconception with a lot of GMs when they're like, I don't want to do character voices, because if I do character voices, I have to do character voices for like everybody, and then like there's so many NPCs. Or a GM who is like, I don't want to do character voices because I'm not good at voices. I only have like I've played with GMs who are like, I have one voice, it's English accent, that's all I can do. And I'm like, okay, if you have English accent, you have at least 3 voices, because you can do high English accent, you can do mid English accent, you can do low English accent. Playing around with the placement of voices is so fun, because you can take the same voice. Like we'll do English accent because it's the example. If I'm just talking in an English accent, I can just talk in my regular tone and my regular register. It's going to be in here. Or I can raise it up, and this is the same English accent, it's just higher. If I wanted to go even higher, I can. Or I can go lower. It's just going to depend on where that's going to be placed. And those are all different characters. It's the same accent. Once you have a voice, you can do that same voice over and over again for different NPCs. And just vary it slightly. And it changes things drastically.
Yes, completely. That is, you can turn one voice into three, and a lot, especially if you're in person, just there's a physicality you can give a character.
Physicality is so important.
And I realized it when I do it on camera. That's why I always keep my camera on whenever I'm DMing anything or in a game, because you can kind of hear it in a mic, but you can see it. And I realized, like, if a character is more sinister, you kind of do that leaned forward thing where, like, you tuck in and you jut your forehead out more.
The Kubrick stare or whatever it's called, where it's just like tilt the head down, look up over it.
You do kind of restrict your airway a little bit, and it changes the tone. Yeah, and you can kind of a whisper. Oh God, do not underestimate the power of a whisper.
There is so many sinister characters. Horrifying nature to a really breathy voice.
Yeah, I have made so many sinister characters by just making them speak very calmly and quietly, in direct opposition to how, like, heated everybody else is, or just like their perception, like whatever.
And we talked a little bit about it in the villains episode. But like, voices are so important to villains, because if you make a good villain, you should be like, there's absolutely, if you can't do character voices, don't worry about it. Like, you can have amazing games without character voices. But if you want to try, just try, because there are so many incredible character voices that you can bring. One of the most important elements to me for a memorable NPC or villain is that, like, voice where if I drop that voice, my players know who it was based on the voice. I can say a line and they'll be like, oh, is that so and so? And yeah, it is. They're back. But like, villains especially, having that just recognizable tone that when they hear it, they know exactly who that is so important to setting tones of scenes. Of like, if you want to do a dramatic reveal of a villain, give an NPC a memorable voice, and when the villain is revealed, have the NPC out of sight and talking into the room, and have the players come to the realization of who it is before they've actually walked into the room to reveal who it is. That's a very powerful moment. Now that we're on the topic of character voices, do you have a character voice that you are that is your favorite one to do?
I would say it is the characters that I think are for me the most fun are the bad guys, because the one quality that they will always have, and that I always give them, is like unbridled confidence. And that is just, it is so easy when you have what they want. And with any NPC, even if it's something very tiny like a shopkeep or something like that, every NPC has something they want, even if it's just make enough money to get through the end of the day or the week or something like that. So if you try to make anybody on the spot, you just give them what they want. But with a villain, you know what they want and how strong they want it, because it's big enough to focus a plot point around them. And it's just so much fun.
The only difference between a villain and just a bad guy is the lengths they're willing to go to achieve their goals.
Yep. Yep. And my favorite ones are the I've had to tone them down a little bit because it can be problematic. But I've always liked the there is one, I don't want to say villain like this, but like I loved watching Rocky Horror. I've watched Rocky Horror so many times growing up, and I love Frankenfurter, and I love that the confidence that they have. And it's there's this power that comes with it. So somebody made like a Maximilian Pegasus type, so like that voice where it's just that confidence and like an amusement with the characters, just like, oh look, that's cute. Like and so it's like it's a good Strahd voice type of thing, but it's just an amused confidence at how cute like they are for trying.
There's a condescension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like that type of villain when it's done right, and as long as it's not cheap, it's not to the point where you're making it like, oh man, like this is you're making it OP for the sake of making it OP. It's a villain you love to hate.
It has to feel
you know?
Earned.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those
Like
are the NPCs I love. But have you ever had an NPC that you did not intend to jump off and it did?
Oh my goodness.
Where you're like, oh well, okay, you're a main character now. Damn.
Let's see here. Do you have one off the top of your head? I would need a minute to think.
Oh geez. Yeah, here I throw out the question. I didn't have it fully locked and loaded. I think well, you know what it was? It was in one of my first like home games. It was with my friends. I had this running gag I wanted to do, and it worked out. He was set up originally to seem like he was going to be a big villain. And ended up just being like a throwaway guy, because the way I wanted to do was every like milestone that they were like going to do a big fight. There was a little pseudo dragon that came out, and he talked a big game, and he was like clearly supposed to be like the big thing, but in the beginning they beat him. They beat him pretty easily. A pseudo dragon didn't have a lot of HP, you know, but they defeated him, and I just took note of how he was defeated. And every time they had some other big encounter with the main enemy, he was back. And it was kind of like whenever there's a reoccurring villain in a cartoon or something like that, there's always like a Jesse and James. There's always he was always there and alive, but clearly bearing the wounds of like whatever they had lightning him, they had pulverized him. He'd always come back. And the funniest thing, the reason he was a throwaway NPC was I never gave him more health.
Incredible. Yeah.
So he was always a fly to them.
Right.
He will always, and then it got to the point where sometimes they wouldn't take him out immediately because they liked messing with him.
Oh, it's
and
so
the gag of
messed up.
the gag of just like, okay, it'll be funny. He comes in, talks big game, and that's why, and he goes away. No, it wasn't just instant anymore. I was like, oh no, I have to maintain. It was like a real wimpy, like, you know, type of thing. So I was like, oh, I gotta keep this guy up. You know, I'm like, if they caught, I was like, they never did it. But if they'd have just caught him, like, there's nothing. I was like, he's gonna be a permanent like pet at that point where they couldn't do anything. That's
so good. That does remind. So there was a. It wasn't even an NPC when it was introduced. It was literally a mouse. And I can't remember if I've talked about this on the stream before. But there was literally a mouse that the druid awakened. And so the mouse was suddenly like sentient and aware of everything, and it was like immediately hated it. Was like, I don't like this. This is, put me back. Let me go back to being a mouse. I don't want to be aware of all of this that is happening. Like you have like big people problems, and you've put them in my like little mouse brain. And so they like awoken this mouse because they needed direction somewhere, and like the druid could have done like a speak to animals or something like that to just like, oh, let me just like talk to this mouse in its own language and get directions. But the mouse didn't give him like the information he wanted, so he awoke the mouse.
Oh my God.
And was like, okay, we need directions to this place. And the mouse was like, this is horrifying. This is a horrifying thing you've done. But like gives them the directions and is like, put me back, return me to normal. Let me like go back to being a normal mouse. And he didn't. He left this mouse as a like awakened mouse, and they left. And I'm sure I've talked about the fact that like I run living world games. All of my games are like interconnected in the same world. And so they left. They went on their merry way. They got on a ship. They sailed to a completely different part of the continent. They were gone. I kept this mouse in as an NPC in the town that they left him in. And anytime adventurers would travel through that town, any of my other groups, they would meet this mouse who would come to them and explain the horrors of what this person had done to them. And the story kept evolving and changing every time he would tell it.
It was rumors.
To keep making it bigger and bigger. I had one group who heard the rumors of the talking mouse in the town and went to the town just to meet him. But he would negotiate with these groups of like, what can I give you? What can I do for you? In exchange for something that will help me get my revenge. And so these groups kept.
This is slowly turning back into a bad guy episode. We're going
100,
back to villains.
100%.
Yeah.
But they kept these groups, these other adventurers would be like, you know how groups of adventurers, when they get to a certain level, they just have magic items that they're not using anymore. And they're like, we could sell this, but we have so much gold. It's absurd. We don't need the gold. So they would just start giving magic items to this mouse. And this mouse slowly built up like an arsenal of magic items that they had at their disposal, and just laid in wait until that group eventually came back. And then he had put a little quest hook in the tavern that he knew they wouldn't be able to resist. And they followed it out into the middle of nowhere. And when they got there, there was like this lair that had been built up. And when they got in there, he cast one of the other groups gave him a scroll of true polymorph to like change himself so that he could like change into whatever he wanted. And instead he used it on the druid to true polymorph them into a mouse folk, so that they were permanently like stuck as a mouse, to live the same curse that he was.
Oh wow!
And then he ran away, and like took all of his stuff with him. But that was such a wildly unexpected storyline to pop up in my game. Like, I never would have been prepared for it. It was just something that like started evolving. It was very entertaining to me.
I thought of another one that I've done. I've done I sometimes, since I play with a lot of games, a lot of groups that like just fast and loose. They don't really deal with money too much. They'll have money, but it'll be more like, yeah, you got enough, a lot of little whatever. And so one way to give them magic items is like the local whatever will like sponsor them or something like that. And I was doing an Icewind Dale game, and resources are kind of tight there. It's not like there's things flowing like water. So how would I do that? And I had that the blacksmith, the main blacksmith for one of the main towns, his nephew was visiting from like Waterdeep or something, right? It was just he was visiting from a bigger place, and his cousin or his brother wanted him to really just experience life at a simpler pace or something like that. And he was a dwarf with hair that kind of went over his eyes a little bit, and I just made this real emo kid, right? This real like emo looking dwarf. He had these two it was like earmuffs, but they had sound. They were enchanted to make music come out. So he just had headphones on the whole time, and he never wanted to do anything. But he's like, "Come on, you're gonna work on some things. What do you want?" And he made literally anything. He was a savant. I can just homebrew anything. So it was whatever my party was looking for. I would say he can kind of make it, but it was always with like an edgy edgelord twist to it.
Right.
So if it was like a bardic, like a DOS lute, it was like, a guitar, like, and it had like a different modification or two. But it was he made anything, and that's how I did it. But he was just like, yeah, no, I don't care. And he did it effortlessly. So whatever time I looked up, how much time it takes to make something, and I just like would cut it in half. And it was just, he might have some things prepared, but it was just full blown, like he would make anything very quickly.
He's a genius.
And he didn't care about it. Yeah, he didn't. And so he was learning nothing. The lesson of him being in this cold, harsh climate did nothing. That makes me think, and I always wanted people to interact more with him, and they didn't, because he was just like a edgy teenager.
Right.
Have you ever had an NPC you worked really hard on and no one cared at all?
Oh my goodness. There was a game where I had put a lot of effort into this storyline of there's a bar in my world called the Prancing Tiger that is run by a Rakshasa. I think I've talked about the Rakshasa on this stream before.
I think so.
One of the things that he will do is if you need anything, because he's a fiend, if you need something, you can come to him. You can make a deal with him. He will give you. He will thank you for the sub. He will. He will give you a job that needs completing. In exchange for whatever item you want. You want a magic item? Absolutely. Do this thing for me. I'll have it for you when you're done. And he will make packs, but he makes deals with people. But they're always very surface, very upfront usually. The one deal that he had for one of the crews that came through was they were looking for some powerful item, and he was like, listen, I have a guy that I got a ring of 3 wishes from me, and I gave it to him, and then he hasn't paid up on his end of the deal. You go kill him, take that ring, and it's yours, and you can use it to get your stuff. No additional deal from me. I don't need anything else from you. Just kill him and take the ring. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And they go off to do this. Thank you for the sub, Jolly Green.
Jolly.
They go off to do this mission. And a couple of groups have gone off to do this mission, and most of the time it's okay, we go to do it, we decide we feel bad, and we'll figure out a different way to get this ring. Or we'll figure out a different way to get the thing that we were looking for. And none of my groups have actively looked into this guy that they're supposed to be going after, or any of that. And I'm like, oh, come on, there's story there. Go find out about this dude, because I've got stuff for you to explore. I think the most heartbreaking one for me was there was a let me see if I can find it. There was a group that had they were given a riddle to go find this treasure far up north. And I was so proud of the riddle. And they had it for a really long time, and they just never went off to find it. And I was like, I spent quite a bit of time on it. It's a really good flow to it. Yeah, C17R in the chat, that was his group. But it's the riddle is through the hills and mountains high, past the temple of ember sky, cross the desert and gate stretched tall into the woods where monsters crawl. Edgeward down the running flow to the realm encased in snow, where the rain turns into ice, to the man whose game is dice, into vaults below the ground, travel safe, don't make a sound, the trove protected by creatures old, the gilded creature scaled and cold. My treasure lost a primal greed, I write it down to future read. The treasure I know I won't soon reclaim, but its legend grows, secures my fame. Death may take my soul away, the treasure lasts beyond today. I was like, it's good, damn it. Go find the treasure. It's got all the clues you need. It'd be a whole bunch of money for you. Yeah, it would have been a fun adventure. Do you have one off the top of your head of like, I really wanted them to interact with this person, they just didn't?
I have a group. They're younger. They're interacting the right amount with this one character because I don't want it any more than it has to. But I have introduced a genie into one of my games, and he's super chill. His name, I think I looked it up one time. He's like a trickster god or something like that.
Okay.
His name is Weiwei, Weiwei Cuddle or something like that. But I just shortened down to Weiwei. And he's just super chill and give you genie powers, genie warlock powers. But he was trapped for so long. They discovered him in this like asteroid or whatever, and a skull, and so like he is the group is his ticket out of there and able to see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody else says like, "Can you give me power?" Something like that, and he's just like, "Yeah, sure." And he makes it. He's very transparent, and I make him intentionally very transparent. And I was like, he is not lying. He wants to. The more people he makes pacts with, he can bounce between them then and peek in on them through that connection, and he can see the world, see the universe, see everything, because he was trapped for so long. So he's very open with this. And the only thing he asks is just go out, just do stuff. If you were to like just stay home and do nothing, he'd be mad. That's the compromise. So he's very chill. And if I ever don't want to interact with him or just say, I'll be like, he's not here. Like you can't get a hold of him. He's off somewhere doing something because he's made packs. But the group, the kids have been so adamant on getting him packs. It's gotten to the point of like almost aggressive sales tactics, and he's uncomfortable with it. And it was something like they're in an arena and they kind of like announced to the like, does anybody want a genie pack? And I'm like, roll a persuasion check. And he rolled really well, and then you hear some people in the audience go like, "Oh, I don't know, what is that like?" And they rolled really good for a lot of like convincing rolls. And what did I do? Some guy got fired, and I could tell I was like, "Ooh, this guy's gonna be like, he's disgruntled." And they offered him a genie pack, and I was like, "No." I was like, "Roll with disadvantage," and they still rolled dumb high. and he was just like, "So you'll give me power?" And they were egging him on like, "Yeah, you can get power, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Okay." And they thought they didn't get it. They thought they didn't succeed. And I have like, you roll for like whatever the vessel's going to be. And so whether it's a lamp or whatever it is, and I had like a nearby lantern start swirling with energy, fly to him. And instead of the flame that was in it is like a cosmic swirl of like energy, and that's his thing. And you could tell, oh, the pack was sealed. And he's just like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, they said something where it's just like, hey, don't worry about this, like they won't get away with that or whatever, like just kind of like, cheer up, don't worry about it. And it was real ominous, like, oh, I know, or like, yeah, they won't. And I was like, oh, this guy's a bad guy now, like he's a bad guy now. And you
gave the bad guy powers.
No, but it wasn't just that. At the end of that scene, like one of the characters who's a little older, one of the players is just like, man, I don't know if we did that. And I was like, all of you here, even those that don't have a pact with Weiwei, here in the back of your heads, not gonna lie, guys, I don't know how I feel about that one. That felt feel kind of weird about that one. I feel a little dirty. I don't know. Maybe we want to calm down. And he was actually going, maybe we want to tone it down a little bit. Maybe we just want to like, he's like, no, but you want, it's like, yeah, but this isn't how I roll. And I'm an
introvert, actually.
It's very aggressive.
Yeah.
It's just like, because he's just so chill and laid back, and he doesn't want it to be like, he doesn't want people to go and kill in his name or anything like that. Right. It was just like, hey, yeah, no, I definitely want to, I'm going to do it, but you know, we don't have to go too crazy with it. It's cool. And I was just like, he is so not a bad guy. He's gonna
Right.
let them know when they're being bad. You know,
Right.
he's not gonna stop them because obviously he's like, no, I want you to keep doing stuff. This is interesting for me. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not evil. So hey, you know, just
Right.
chill
Yeah.
out a little bit.
Oh,
Maybe
man.
that. We're like we've blown past the ad break. we went past the ad break.
Yeah.
And did not.
We didn't get to talk that much last time.
Yeah, we're making up for it.
Yeah, making up for lost time. We don't have any ads to do anyway.
I actually have one right now, but I don't have the code yet. I have somebody who makes things, and was like, "You want me to plug your thing?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Ooh,
So
there
we
you
will
go.
have like legitimate code for people to fix.
Nice. There we go.
I'm on now. Give me a code. Any
Oh,
code.
man.
I don't care. But anywho, so yeah. But while we still have some time here, we did blow past the ad break. But before we go, we know we want to talk about a few things. Like tomorrow, we have our Humble game that we're going to be on
Yes.
Greater Restoration.
Yeah. Which also, it's not really it's no longer a relevant plug because the episode, like, it already happened. But I played with Rosie last night, over on her channel, and got to play with Rosie as the DM. Oh my goodness, it was such a fun game.
I saw the thing too late, and I meant to promote it more. But it was for charity, so people
Yes.
can still go check out the VOD and still donate.
100%.
Yeah,
if you haven't checked out the VOD yet, go check out the VOD. It was so good. Rosie, if you wouldn't, if you have the ability to, would you mind dropping a link?
I was gonna say,
in
is
the-
it
in
just
the
like
chat? That'd be super
is it
helpful.
just that Sweet Rosie B? I know she's
I
Sweet
think
Rosie B
so.
on all her socials.
But yeah, it was so much fun. I played Handuk, who was a Minotaur paladin, and was a Oath of Glory paladin, which is the first time I had ever played Oath of Glory. It is a fun build.
That's my favorite paladin.
But he was a
yeah.
Oath of Glory, and his background was he's an ex-gladiator.
Mhm.
And so I played him like this kind of big kind of idiot, but he's really, really strong, and that's my favorite.
Yeah.
But his holy symbol was a like giant wrestler's belt.
Ooh.
And I ran into we encountered a ghost. And I won't spoil anything, but go watch it, because it is one of the only times I've played in a one shot and then been like, I want to continue playing this character. Rosie, if you ever need me to play in future one shots, I would love to just keep bringing Handuk to one shots for you.
You know, that's how a lot of NPCs get birthed, though. It's the characters we play in one shots or
become
in our
NPCs
D&D Beyonds, the
worlds,
hundreds
yeah.
of characters we
Yeah.
make. Yeah, and then it's
Absolutely.
like I want to see this person live a little bit, so I'm gonna make them in some way, shape, or form. And because we've made the thought of what they want,
Mhm.
they're already fleshed out, and they're gonna feel more real, and they're gonna have personalities.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was a lot
fantastic.
of fun. But we are playing tomorrow night. We will be playing Humblewood over on Greater Restoration's channel. That is also a super fun time. If you haven't gone and checked them out, go check them out as well. I will drop the link here in a second. I need to set up a whatchamacallit. I need to set up a command to just do that.
I was about to say, it's
Um,
like I was also gonna drop our socials, because I wrote up a blog recently, because I was just like, you know what, I need to give people my links for things.
Yeah.
But I also I included your links because you know, that's that. So I at least have wait, no, where'd it go? It's just me. I know I wrote down for both of us. Oh, because the Twitter's the same. That's why.
But yeah,
I'll get it.
we'll,
yeah.
yeah.
We'll get links up there. And
We'll
stuff.
get it. We'll get it put together. I know.
Oh, for the podcast, that's what it was. For the podcast, I had to write out that. So I wrote down.
Got it.
I can at least paste that.
Yeah.
Because the show notes.
But yeah, we play Humblewood tomorrow night on the GR crew at 8 p.m. Eastern. Is that right?
Yes.
That is super fun. That's going to be Judy and myself and Rosie are all playing in it, along with additional incredible cast members and an incredible GM. It is such a good time. I am very much looking forward to jumping into it, especially because the game last night had a swashbuckler rogue in it, and I was like, we were in combat, and I was like, yes, I want to do this stuff. It has been so long since I played a character that was like not magic in any way, just like, I'm gonna stab stuff and it's gonna hurt, and I'm very excited for it. Okay, anything else before we wrap up here? I know we're kind of at that time.
Yeah, if you go to Hunter's, I posted links in the chat, but the show notes will have our links to Hunter's Twitter and all my links, where you can find us and follow us for all that other fun stuff. And check out our bonus episode that it's titled "Waffling Through Tech Issues." It's on Spotify. It's on Anchor. It'll be available on more things after the fact. I'm probably just gonna make it audio and make a video so it can be on the YouTube as well. But it'll be posted in a lot of different ways. It's just 20 minutes of us talking about why we like doing this and goofing around for a little bit. But it's the first of a lot of bonus episodes that we're going to be doing, where I wrote down some notes where I know we talked some things about voices and things, and I know there are things we'd want to go into.
Yep.
So we're going to dive deeper into certain topics, and if there's ever anything that's too spicy for our morning show, that's where we'll go into it. But like all the NPCs that we've had to stop using because they got too hot and heated with our group. I'm sure that this has happened before, where the line is blurred, where you play essentially this game of chicken with your friends, and you're like, who's gonna turn first?
Oh man, Judy, are we doing a brothel bonus episode?
Oh, let's just write that down on the doc, please, so we don't forget it, because we're gonna forget it if we don't do that. But yes, there's gonna be a brothel bonus episode.
We can talk about my all-time favorite name for a brothel I've ever put into one of my worlds, which was a.
Hey, whoa! I was gonna say, don't say it.
I won't tell you anything about it. I'm just gonna give the name. But it is a brothel and restaurant, and it's called Forks Aplenty.
Okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll do a brothel bonus episode. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man.
So there's that. There's a lot of fun things that we have ideas for Friday. And I'm trying to see if there was anything happening. But I think we are definitely. I know that we had some news segments we wanted to try.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have that. We'll have that up and running for Friday, because I do want to start doing that.
We're going to be doing some news, some weather that will give you some ideas of what you can do in your games for that day, or generate your own ideas, or we could just tell you, hey, this is what's going on in your games, and you're like, I don't have to do that mental processing power. Junie Hunter just told me it, and now I just do it. So that we can help you out that way.
Yeah.
And as always, you can
just quick segment at the top of the order, at the top of the hour.
Yeah. And we're always accepting submissions for Dungeon Master's Quandary. If you have
absolutely, if you're not in the Discord already, join the Discord.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can.
Discord.
That's the best place to submit them. Otherwise, feel free to tweet at either of us, at Very Nerdy Dad or at Warlock_Waffle. You can.
Oh, I'm not at Very Nerdy Dad. I really.
Oh, are you not?
My branding. No. On TikTok, I'm at Very Nerdy Dad. On Twitter, I've left myself at Junie Ruiz in case I ever make a name for myself.
Well, then
I was just like, I just have my name.
I have to update our whole overlay, Junie.
Oh, it says at very nerdy dad.
It says,
Oh, that's funny.
It says very nerdy dad.
That's well. Before it was always Professor Junie, and then I was like, I don't do as much
Yeah.
Pokemon stuff as
I
used
could
to.
have looked at your Twitter before I just assumed that was your Twitter.
No, that's
handle.
fair. That's fair. It's
Um,
at nerdy dad. It's at very nerdy dad everywhere else. I really should just change it, and I'm a coward. Is it on my business cards? If
I
it's
have
not
no
on my
idea.
business cards, I might change it.
Um,
I think I took it off. My
but
business cards.
yeah.
Anywho,
Anything else before we wrap up, Junie?
I feel like we came in so tight, and then we started to lose it at the end.
We got
no,
we
no,
got
we were so good. We held it together. This was good. I'm not backing up now. I was vamping to see if I can get a code, a promo code to give people for
We'll have it
random
Friday.
shop, but it's fine. We'll have it Friday. It'll be a quote unquote something we definitely put on the ad break. But yeah, I think I know I'm good. I'm excited for the content we've made and what we're going to be making, and everybody follow us on our various social medias for news and stuff like that. So Hunter, leave us with that classic sign off. What are some things that people should do? Go for it. Send us off.
Absolutely. Go out and buy a set of dice that is all D8s. Buy a deck of cards and remove 3 of them at random and just throw them away. And eat a box of cereal, but open it from the bottom and pull the bag out and open the bag up from the top and then put the whole thing back up into the box and then fold it shut. Until next time, we'll be back on Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Remember to embrace the nonsense, and we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your week, guys.
For the audio listener, I am in stunned silence at that last one.
That is the second time you've said that today.
I just because they can't tell how what my face is doing, but it is just what are the implications of opening the box backwards but forwards at the same time?
Yeah, it's not good. It's a bad decision. Embrace the nonsense. We'll see you Friday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye.